Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Everyday Adventure Podcast. How are you doing, Megan?
I'm good.
You're
How are
still
you?
hanging in there.
I'm good.
You're great.
Yeah, I'm good. Just if I cough, ignore
You've
it.
just gotten hit with a few weeks of the sickies.
Yeah,
So last week it was the lost voice, Megan.
yeah. The week before that, it was migraines and a sore throat. And then this week, I just fevers and actual sick days from work. What?
But you're on the up and up a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna fake it till we make it.
No.
Sometimes you just gotta like buckle down, you know?
Also, I saw like an Instagram reel, and it was somebody that was coughed, and then they coughed too many times for social acceptance, and then it's like the
No.
and it was very funny.
I feel that.
I cracked up.
The other day I was helping my brother move into his new apartment and I'm sick. And so Nefemi, his fiance, was like, "Oh no, we'll just get the last load." And Matt's like, "No, she's gonna help while she's here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is just like farm kids, you know?
Yeah.
You just buckle up, suck it up, you know, and
Yeah.
go get another load to move 5 floors." So,
I wonder why you're sick.
hey, I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
We're going to have a great conversation today. We're talking about keeping the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we're just kind of talking about values and the things that matter most. And it's been really fun to kind of revisit this. And obviously, we've got the Main Things workshop coming up on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
which if you're listening to this on Monday, you still have a chance to sign up, or
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday. But otherwise, just hear all the great things about it next time we talk. But really, though, it's been so much fun for me as I've just kind of been circling this topic over and over again and preparing for the workshop and looking at, its effect on my life as it's been like the reason we're doing this is because it's been impactful for me. It's been impactful for you. It's been impactful for our family. And I just really believe that people, as they get really clear about what matters most and put words to it, definition to it, and then actually figure out how to build their life around it, like really good things can happen. The decisions in life get easier. And we talked a lot about this last week. And so today I'm really excited to kind of talk about how do you build your life around your values? How do you keep the main thing the main thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good because I feel like it's maybe not necessarily easier, but easier to figure out your values or like write them down. But then how do you actually do that? How do you actually keep them in front of you, keep focused on them, and make decisions that align with them? It feels a little bit harder.
Yeah. When I think the big thing with core values oftentimes is that it's kind of like, a mission statement or a vision statement maybe a company has or a church has. There's kind of two opportunities. There's one opportunity where it's just like it's words on a wall, or it's something that's kind of repeated every once in a while, but nobody really understands what it means, or they don't understand what it means for them. And then there's values that kind of drive everything, and they become kind of the DNA, the culture. And again, I think of a company like Chick-fil-A, like the my pleasure, when you're grabbing your sandwich and you say thank you, and it's sometimes fun to just say it over and over again just to make sure that they're doing their job, but that's the behavior of saying my pleasure isn't just like a random thing. Like that stems from their value of hospitality. That stems from it's our pleasure to serve you. And so I think there's power to it when like people actually not only understand it, but live it. And I'm sure there's Chick-fil-A employees out there that are so annoyed because they're just like, my pleasure, and like, I have to say this. Otherwise, I know there's rumors that, and there's some funny video. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these, but it's basically like somebody, he's working at Chick-fil-A. It's a comedian, but he says, "You're welcome." And then all of a sudden, like 14 Chick-fil-A employees rush him and like put a hood on his head and take him away. So maybe there's some people that just have fear.
Maybe.
But I think there's a lot of people, and what they've done so well is that they teach what matters, and they help you understand, like, this is who we are, this is our story, this is the Truitt family, and why they started Chick-fil-A, why we do Sundays, why we close on Sundays, and all the things which Kanye West really helps us understand that concept. Closed on Sundays,
Jeez.
Chick-fil-A, you know. But there's just a big difference when we don't actually live them out.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah. Yeah. For you, because I mean, it's been a while since you made your values, right? That was many
Yes.
years ago. But was that something that once you picked them out from that exercise that you were doing, did you immediately like live them out, or how did that kind of progress into your life where now there are like the central kind of way that you make decisions and live today?
I mean, I think that was definitely like the desire from the start was just like, you know, and definitely did it, but without kind of a plan, or definitely did it without a ton of intentionality. And so I think the last 10 years has really been like, okay, reflecting on it annually, reflecting on it a couple times a year was kind of the first step. Was kind of like, okay, now we've identified these words and we've tried to give some meaning to these words. To now, when I did my year-end reflection that year, one of the activities that I did was I had all my values, and I just basically asked myself, like, am I true to this value? Like, am I actually living Jesus centered? Am I actually living family focused? And it became a way to kind of, you know, measure myself against that value instead of measuring myself against the person to my left or the person to my right. Obviously, with the way that social media works, it's like very easy to be like, oh man, I don't add up to that person, but they have a different set of values. They have a different, they have a different whole infrastructure of their life. And so the values became a way to recognize like, oh, I am growing in this, or I am not being true to myself, to who God's called me to be. And this is an area that I need to kind of surrender to him. And so I think that was the first step of it. And then it's just become more natural over time of like, okay, because I am Jesus centered, or because I am family focused, this is the behaviors that allow that to be, that prioritize that keep that priority at the forefront. And I think now it's been really fun over the last year or two. As you teach it more, you start to actually put language to it. And I was doing a teaching yesterday with a group of college ministry leaders, and what was funny was just like the teaching I was doing was very much center of my heart, like core to me, but I had never really taken the time to put the language to it. It had been something I had thought about, talked about, and then the opportunity to teach it kind of created like okay, I need to put this in words that they can understand it. And I think that's the same thing that's kind of happened with core values, and this idea of main things is like, this has been so integrated into my life, but now it's like, I need to help people find language for it and help them understand it. And so how about for you? Like, obviously you've had values maybe a little less. I don't know if you were alive 11 years ago when I was doing it. Sorry.
Get out of here.
It's just fun. It's just,
I was 14.
I'm old. I'm old. But like, what has it been like for you? Has living them out been easy, a challenge? Has it been something that's been intentional, unintentional?
I think it's been a little bit of everything. I picked my values maybe 3 years ago, and maybe a year ago actually remember them. So
Okay.
I think it was one of those, I picked values that I think you kind of naturally live out your values because it's what you value, and
Yes,
without without maybe having words to it, we all value something. And so when I picked my values, it was things that I was already seeing patterns in my own life. And so I think because of that, though, I wasn't as intentional about like, how do I actually live this out, instead of kind of being reactive to them instead of proactive to it. But now I think I have them memorized, and if someone were to ask me, I could tell you what I value,
Right.
and kind of that stuff, and why I make decisions the way that I do. I think I'm more focused on it, but it's still not where I would want it to be, where I like am focused on them and every decision gets filtered through them. I think you have talked about even prioritizing your values. And so, because at sometimes decisions that you'll make fill a value, and you're
Right.
like, this is a great thing that I really want to be a part of, but that value isn't as high as your family value or Jesus or whatever it is, it's still something you value, but it needs to be filtered in a good order. And I think that's been really interesting for me too, is like not just having values, but also understanding what comes first sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I think a couple things there. One, a mistake that a lot of people make is that they pick values that are really good qualities, but they're
Mm-hmm.
ones that they aren't close to embodying. And I think that there's kind of values that we look to, and that's why this is a tricky subject sometimes, because we look at scripture and there's 50 values or more,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, that are things that Jesus teaches, things that the disciples live out. And so we could take all of those and be like, those all need to be core. So there's these values that are just good values. They're Christ-centered values.
Yeah.
They're biblical values that we want to live in. But then there's really core values that I think become personal, that become, I would struggle if somebody would be like, my core value is bullying, like,
Right.
like, no, that's not what we're talking about. These are values that bring good, that impact others in a positive way, that impact our life in a positive way. But just because, like, maybe you grew up in a home that didn't use words kindly and you had friendships that everybody just busted each other down, a starting point of, your value being encouragement just might not be true yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's things that we can work towards. And that's why I think revisiting our values is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of in the process, again, being so deep into like the side of the teaching it and helping other people, I'm just realizing like some of the values that I have aren't as fitting as they once were.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talked about the ordering thing. For me, what's interesting is one of my values is like passion, and I'm an excitable person. I I can motivate, and I can motivate myself, and I can get excited about things. I can get angry about things. I can get sad about things that matter to me. But if that was my number one, like if I was like, okay, this is my number one value, I would be a mess,
Right.
But because Jesus centered, family focused, people driven, like those things all come before it. And it allows me to kind of filter, like, I am really excited or really angry or really sad about this thing, but this doesn't align. I mean, the anger thing sometimes is like, that's not very Jesus centered, Megan. And so it's obviously like, okay, I need to keep that in check. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think the passion side of me has been what's allowed us to say yes to some scary things. It's
Mm-hmm.
been what's allowed us to start things that were really hard to start. It's all of those things. It's what, m- made me me when it came to sports in high school, all the things, but it's just a terrible like driver in the
Right.
driver's seat. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's something that we always have to be honest about too, is just
Mm-hmm.
like some of our values are going to come out in positive ways and they're going to come out in negative ways. Teachability, obviously that feels really positive, like learning, but then sometimes where I was early in college or early post college, actually after the core values, like I had identified teachability is a core value. It's something that I really, you're sitting behind or in front of the bookshelf
Right.
and I've read. My son Summer was in here the other day and he's like, or no, Kinsley was like, do you read those? And I was like, I have read 95% of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love reading, but when I started that journey, I was overloading myself with information and not allowing anything to like move into how I lived, and
Right.
it just wasn't very healthy. And so I think again, all of these values, that's why we have to have them in check, and we have to understand what does it look like to live this out in a pure way.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the first things though is that idea of naming it, which if you didn't listen to last week's episode, go back and do
Mm-hmm.
that. But the second thing I think is really helpful when it comes to building a life around what matters most, when it comes to living out core values, when it comes to keeping the main things, is to choose behaviors that align, or
Mm-hmm.
choose behaviors that kind of amplify or exemplify that value. And so
Mm-hmm.
talk about that for just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about this a little bit in just the fact that this would terrify me to do, but if you were to ask people around you, hey, what do you think I value? What would they say? And what they're going to do is they're going to assess your behavior and how you show up in a room. And whereas, what's the quote? Like, we judge ourselves by our intention, but we judge others by their actions.
Yes.
And so our intention is always good,
Yep.
but our behavior isn't always. And so sometimes it would just be interesting. It's an interesting exercise or an interesting question to ask yourself is, what would the people around me say that I value? And what they're going to do is assess your behavior and maybe like blind, dumb, and deaf spots. What are you seeing? And so this step is really like looking at your behavior and saying, what is this showing myself? What is this reflecting to other people that I value?
Yeah. What's interesting is that part of kind of the process that I've developed of identifying core values is an early step is kind of what would people say? Because oftentimes that will both kind of highlight some of those blind spots, but it also oftentimes highlights the value. It's just hidden in our behavior. It's hidden in how we are. Again, that idea of like the things that, what I've realized, and I think I mentioned on the podcast last week, but sorry to Taylor, but didn't cry at our wedding very much. And it's not because I don't love her. It's not because, but I have this weird tear reaction to people like living out their purpose, to doing things, whether it's like, I can like, Taylor will have on like Dancing with the Stars and I'll be like, this is the lamest thing. And then the guy that can't dance, like dances really well. I'm like, oh man,
oh my
that's
gosh.
so great. It's just so funny to me how that is. Well, that is the passion thing. That is the thing that like when somebody is in that, like I feel it. And I think it's one of those signs, it's one of those clues in my life. And so values are beliefs, but behaviors are how people see them. And so a great question to ask is, if this is truly one of my values, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this is one of my values, what do I do? So maybe walk through one from your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, one of my values is generosity. And so if I value generosity, my mindset would be giving. And I don't really view that just financially, but that's giving of your time and your giftings and all of that stuff. And so if that is a value for me, which it is for me, that is like doing more than what's asked, or giving more if you can, and coming alongside someone in your gifting and whatever that is.
Right. Well, right before we started recording, dropped a bomb on you and said, hey, we forgot about Kevin.
Right.
Kevin is our 16-year-old dog. We love him to death. To death. He's almost there. But
sad.
Well, it's true. I mean, he's 16. But we just sometimes when we have trips planned or like weekends planned out of town, we just kind of, it's the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dropped right before, and you've been dog sitting all week. Let's just say that
for
first.
a different family, not for Kevin.
And I had asked you, would you do it? And barely without, there's a little hesitation because of logistics. You're already dog sitting one dog.
Right.
You said yes. And I think that's part of the generosity that you display. It's not just finances, it is time. And so I think what is really important is to kind of put words to it. And it might be multiple behaviors,
right.
But my friend Doug, and he's coming on the podcast in the next couple of weeks here, but they have the Weckenman code. And so we got to talk to him about like, what does that look like? And so one of the Weckenman code is Weckemans do hard things. And so it's something that as kids repeat, and it stems from, a value of perseverance. It stems from a value of kind of that resilience. However, the behavior is we do hard things. Mm-hmm. And so when they come up against a hard thing, it's just that reminder, we do hard things. And so finding that for these values. And so just to kind of a list to go beyond us, because like for me, Jesus centered, a behavior is seek him first. So it's that first thing in the morning, I want to spend that time with him. So there's days where I have something at 6 a.m. and it's challenging. And there's times where I'm like, I'll do it after, but I feel the shift. And so it's so important for me to at least have the worship music on in the car as I'm on my way to the thing. Even just having the, the Psalm 118:24, this is the day the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. Like having that just moment and actually recognizing, not just saying it, but like, okay, this is your day, God, you've made it. I'm so grateful. And I think that's just the small acts of those things. But let's talk about some others. So if, let's say somebody says growth is their value, what would be behaviors or behavior that would align with that?
Yeah. Well, I think you would see them being curious and learning and probably reading books or listening to podcasts. And it makes me think of my roommate who she listens to about 8 podcasts a day. She just loves to learn. She loves
amazing.
But it's like the most
Is ours
random.
one of them?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
I was gonna.
Shout
Yeah.
out. Yeah, but I mean, she is someone that just loves to learn about anything, and so, but I can see that in her life that she's seeking things.
Yep.
She's curious. She just wants to learn things that she doesn't know about.
Yeah. And so behaviors, that could be, keep learning, open a book. Like there could be things that we attach to that. Let's say honesty. If honesty was a value, what could be a behavior that goes along with that?
Well, I think you'd maybe be a little bit blunt sometimes, but I think there's honesty that is done in love and there's done in respect. And I'm going to misquote the scripture, but it's do it with honesty or with love and gentleness. And I think that there's a way to be honest and still gentle, but it's someone that that values authenticity, that wants to have a tough conversation even if it's uncomfortable. And I think if you value honesty, I think it's a really high value for like relationships of just like you care about the other person and you care about who you are in a relationship or in a dynamic with someone else.
Yeah. A kind of a short and sweet thing to go with honesty could be like, we tell the truth, like if that is a value in a family, like we tell the truth. So again, this becomes the filter through which you can discipline of like lying. It doesn't just stay in like behavior land where lying is bad. You did bad thing. It's you broke the code,
Right.
And that's sin. It's like we break God's code, like what he has in plan. And so it's the same thing with that. It's like a lie becomes not just a bad thing. It's you acted against our value. And I think that we've just seen that as being like, right now, this behavior isn't aligned with who you are. And it just helps our kids understand like, yeah, we are honest or we are kind. Let's do one more. So say discipline is a value.
Well, if I was thinking about someone, this is a random story, but I had one time someone said, "You're the most disciplined person I know." And I was like in a season where I just
felt opposite.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I snoozed my alarm 8 times today. Like, this is just the worst. But anyway, but I think if someone's disciplined, I see healthy rhythms in their life, and they're consistent and they show up and they do what they say they're going to do. Like they're a person of their word. And like, I think you can see that, like if someone's disciplined in the gym, that's a very like outward, way to see that behavior.
Yeah.
But I think there's also people that are disciplined in their thoughts or they're disciplined in their words or their actions, and they think before they speak and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. So a great way to kind of put words to discipline could be, I'm disciplined, so I do it anyway. It's that when that stretch moment comes and I don't want to do the thing, I remind myself I'm disciplined, so I do it anyway. Like, so I do it when I don't want to do it.
Yep.
And so a great way to kind of think about this is I value blank, so I blank. And so it just gives us that, because I'm family focused, I give my best to my family, or I spend I don't really have words for it because it's like bedtimes are important. So like I prioritize bedtime and so there's the kind of the value, and then there's the behavior that goes with it. And then to go a step beyond this, We name it, we choose behavior, but then we also create a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time when we talk about rhythms or habits, sometimes it feels maybe detached. Like a lot of the books on habits or things, I mean, I think Atomic Habits is one of the best books.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things that I've read over the time where it just feels like I just need to choose good habits that are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's good. But when you can attach that to a value, it really becomes like a game changer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I went through with this group of college ministry leaders yesterday, and we were talking about challenges of their context, like of doing their job in the specific context that they have. And I just wrote down challenges, and then I shared kind of a like 6 pillars of missionary health, of being a healthy missionary. And we were able to draw an arrow from every challenge to one of the things. And I think, and I had pre-planned this part, and then I just asked them like, hey, list every challenge that you face. And what it really did is reinforce them like, okay, these rhythms will actually meet these challenges head on.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we set out with a habit that just feels really detached from life and from who we are, and it's really hard to do those habits. I tried this with like a really intense morning routine during COVID. Shout out COVID for trying things and failing. And I did this morning routine, and it was like drink a cup of water. It was go on a 1 mile run, and I did it for a week. And it wasn't just those two things. There was push-ups, there was sit-ups. It was just like a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
And maybe it was something I could have built in and built towards, but I chose to do all 10 at once.
Of
and
course.
that was who I was then.
You're passionate as a value.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like I think the rhythms thing, it is so helpful when we can build daily and weekly habits that reinforce those behaviors. When we can schedule it, when we can put it on the calendar, we can put it on repeat. James Clear from Atomic Habits writes, "You don't rise to the level of your goals; you fall to the level of your systems." And so the system is your rhythm, and we'll always fall to that. So if our rhythm has nothing to do with our values, we won't naturally align to it. And so when it comes to the rhythms side, this is where it goes from just behaviors to groups of behaviors on our calendar, in our life, at repeated recurring times, so that we know that this pattern is what it's we talk about the rhythm. And I pulled this from John Mark Comer, who pulled this from somewhere else, but the trellis, you know, it's in the vineyard or the garden. It's the wood that the vines grow on, and it allows them to get the sunlight, to not be stepped on, all those things. And that's what a rhythm is in our life, is it's the thing that the good stuff can grab hold of. It isn't necessarily the good stuff. And so talk about maybe a rhythm or rhythms in your life that help you live out your values.
Yeah, well, my favorite rhythm right now is, especially in the summertime when it's so nice out, but morning walks.
Yeah.
And I do it without headphones, and everybody should try that. It's so good. But it has just really, really helped me start my day with just a clear head. And I pray, I just process my day. I'm usually making a checklist of everything that I'm thinking about throughout the day. But that has been a game changer for me, and I think that rhythm has aligned with a lot of my values in different ways. But for the biggest one, it's just Jesus being the most important thing in my life, is giving him the first part of my day.
Yep.
And just making sure that I'm starting with him and not starting anxious and trying to cross everything off that I feel like I need to do. So
That's good. I mean, I think that's, you know, for that, it's for me, it's Jesus centered. You know, pray on the way is one of my rhythms. So when I'm driving, it's often a space and time that I'll spend some time in prayer. And when I worked at the church, it was like walking the hallway to that meeting. Even just, it wasn't a big, long, drawn out thing. It was just like, God, give me wisdom for this, or give me patience for this, or help us to do the thing that honors you, or whatever. But it allows me to stay Jesus centered throughout the course of the day. Or another one is people driven. And what I've just realized is that like the small group emphasis in my life, it's because I need people to be a part of that. And so my weekly small group rhythm is aligned with that. Or I can go down the line of family focus. So when it comes to the bedtime rhythms, when it comes to mealtime rhythms, which have been deeply disrupted this summer, I'm just going to be honest, with sports.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of baseball at like 5:30. It's been crazy. But I think that it's helped me kind of attach them to those values, and it's helped me actually live in those values on a more consistent basis. And so I think that's the next thing I would encourage somebody is beyond just a behavior. And I think those behaviors become mantras. And I think that's what can be really helpful in like the embedding it in us and helping us remember it. That's why like the Weckenman code is so cool, because it's like, we do hard things.
Okay.
His kids repeat it and they talk about it. But the rhythm is maybe the unspoken, it's the unseen, but it's the thing that really allows it to be the through stream in our life. And so the next thing is just a simple one, but evaluate relationships. Are the people closest to you helping you become the person you want to be, or pulling you away from it? We talked about this last week on the podcast, but the relationships in our life will, I mean, maybe we can just be bold and say it's the difference between living your values and not, or it's a difference.
Live in the values that you want.
Right.
You'll live something no matter what.
Again, if you, let's just pick another one out. Like if faith is your value and the people around you are not valuing that, it's going to be harder for you to value that. If your value is simplicity and you spend your time around people that want a lot of nice things and that have a lot of stuff, it's going to be hard for you to live out the value of simplicity. So it just goes, we can go down the line. If, patience is your value and the people that you spend time with lack patience, it's harder for you to do that thing. So I just think, again, the relationships really do matter. And then finally, the last thing is establish reminders and revisit. And so when it comes to living out our values, when it comes to keeping the main things, we have to not only just hope and pray that it works out, we have to figure out a way to revisit it often.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. And I think that that's been the biggest difference for me in the last year, is having that reminder. Quarterly is when I do it, but then it's evaluating my values at that time. Hey, how am I doing in this? Am I doing good? Have I forgot about them? And so putting it on your calendar, reminding yourself. Another thing that I did was I just write them in the first page of my journal. It's just my values, so that I remember, okay, this is what I'm starting with, because that just keeps it front of mind for me too, is just like, okay, I'm going to pick up my journal at least several times a week, if not every day. And so I'm going to see it at some point as well.
Yeah. And I think if you're a journaler, that's one of the best things I've done too, is sometimes it's just values, but sometimes I will put different things in the front of because that is a little bit more random for me when I run out of pages in a journal. It's like, but it's a great time to kind of revisit those just kind of naturally. But having those built-in times, putting on the schedule, so you can start with tying it to year end reflection. You can start with picking a date even halfway through the year, or on your birthday. I've heard a lot of people do some of this stuff on their birthday or close to it. They'll have kind of a solo date as part of their birthday where they just kind of take inventory. And if you're worried that you'll encounter a lot of negative things, maybe don't do it on your birthday. But just having the reason people do it on the birthday is because like the birthday is the trigger of like, how am I doing? And how is this last year in according to these values, according to who I want to become, all those things. But putting on the schedule, Taylor and I, like our monthly marriage meeting, it's not something that we explicitly talk about, like here's this value, this value, this value. But because it's become more automatic, it is the through stream of the conversation. Like, are we being the family that we desire to be, that we feel called to be? And is our calendar aligning with that? Is our wins aligning with that? And all the things that come along with that. We set some goals and rhythms for the month to come that we feel like will help us win in that next month. And so a lot of that is based on our values. So finding the ways to establish it, to review it, and to revisit it as often as possible is very helpful.
Yeah, that's good.
Any final words?
No, I just think it was good.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Good
No,
stuff.
I can't say it enough. If you're listening to this before August 4th, we'd
Mhm.
love to have you at
Yeah.
at the Main Things workshop from 6 to 8 p.m. What we're really going to do is in a small group of people, community style, we're able to not only teach through this, but to really implement it. What we want is you to walk away from the Main Things workshop really confident about the values that you feel are most important to you, but also a plan of how to live them out, walking through this at a greater degree with a little bit more time. And also there's something about bouncing things off each other and calling things out in each other and helping people, helping each other really hone in on what is the behavior that will make sure this value stays front of mind. So come to that. You can sign up at stephenglasser.com/events. And all that will be in the description below. But we got to end this episode with some celebration and anticipation because it wouldn't be the Everyday Adventure podcast without it.
That's right.
Because Everyday Adventure is recognizing that adventure is closer than we think, that there's more good in my life right now than I'm aware of, and there's more good right around the corner. And so what is something that you are, what are you doing today?
Anticipating.
You're anticipating today.
I'm anticipating. As you were talking, I want to change my answer to I'm anticipating when I can breathe through my nose again. That sounds really nice. But I'm also anticipating my mom is coming to town tomorrow and we're getting lunch. And so I'm very excited. My brother has a coffee cart at the market on Saturdays. And so we're going to the market. We're getting
Day
a
and night coffee.
Day
Shout
and night
out.
coffee. And then we're going to lunch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very fun.
What are you celebrating?
I feel like I'm celebrating a couple things. The kind of retreat or gathering that I got to be a part of yesterday was super fun, and recently stepped into a role, of district director for Chi Alpha, which is college ministry for the state of North Dakota, and I'm really excited about it. It's a part-time thing, but just being with all the missionaries yesterday, it was really exciting to just hear what's in their hearts and what they're excited about. So celebrating that. And one of the cool things about it was that I did Chi Alpha for 6 years at NDSU, and I trained interns through our training program there. And a lot of them have dispersed. They're in different places. Some of them are in the marketplace. A lot of them are in ministry, but they've gone to Florida. They've gone to South Dakota. They've gone to several different places and states, Alaska. And so the whole group that was there, minus one, wasn't involved when I was there. And so like seeing how God had taken what felt really strong when I was there, and it's equally strong or stronger now with a totally different group of people. It showed me like the goodness and faithfulness of God in a really cool way. Also, another thing is Taylor and I had a date night, and you were under the weather farther than you are now.
Yeah.
That particular day, and you weren't able to babysit, which is very fair. And so
it's like the worst. It's the
No.
worst sending a text and being like, I'm sorry.
No, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I was like half asleep on the couch.
It's the right thing to do, and I'm grateful that you did it, because I think old Megan would have just powered through it to a deeper degree than you do right now.
Yeah. Thanks.
But we, it was one of those things that we had some normal babysitters out of town and stuff, and we had a new babysitter for the first time. She did bedtime with the kids, and we were on a double date, and the couple was like, how did you find somebody last minute? And it just, the celebration is like the community that God has surrounded us with, and the fact that we have so many people that we can trust with our kids, even people that haven't spent a lot of time with them because we just know them and their hearts, and we're just celebrating like the people God has placed in our life. So
I love it.
love it too. Hey, we love you, podcast listeners, and we can't wait to see you next time. We've got a couple guests coming up. Also, Megan, there's 2 exciting things right around the corner of the podcast. I don't even know if I want to say them yet. Should I say them?
Say them.
Okay. One, we have an official sponsor for the podcast.
Let's go.
And so we will share more about that. But Local Littles is an amazing company. A friend of mine, it's clothing for kids, and it's based on where you live, and it's amazing. It's so fun. But they are going to be a sponsor for the podcast. We're going to share more about that. And we're going to have a new theme song. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Somebody reached out to me on social media and created a custom intro and sound for our podcast, and it sounds amazing. It's gonna be awesome, but we're gonna be putting that in very soon, so stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss on all these exciting podcast things. So
we're about to go viral.
Viral.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, we love you. We'll see you very soon.
See ya.